There's a scourge taking over football matches and endangering lives. Some people think it's cool. We think it's dangerous. And it's just a matter of time until people start dying with regularity. It's ruining the game.
Biggest concern when it comes to fans. Flares and smoke bombs are increasingly being smuggled into football stadia. In October, this happened to an assistant referee during Aston Villa's match with Tottenham. Fortunately, he wasn't seriously injured, but the fear is someone in the UK will be soon.
There's been an incident in Bolivia in February where a child died. There have been incidents across the world where people have had bad injuries, where people have died, where we've seen fires break out in stadiums. We feel we've been lucky so far in this country.
Ruth Maddock's 8-year-old son was hit by a smoke bomb earlier this year before kick-off at a Merseyside derby.
On the back of his neck, you could see a really big red mark, but ash still on the back of his neck, burning away at his skin.
It's not until you're actually in front of one of these pyrotechnics, flares, smoke bombs, seeing it for yourself, that you actually appreciate the full damage that can be done.
We've seen on our cameras, they're having a laugh just before they go to set these things off and then just toss them forward. The consequences are very severe when you put it into context of a criminal offence.
With punishments ranging from stadium bans to prison terms, the message coming from the authorities is that pyrotechnics have no place in football. David Ornstein,
near his
BBC
home in
News.
Romford, leaving him with appalling burns, 2 fractured ribs and a damaged liver. The good news is that he's made an incredible recovery, as Sangeeta Kandela reports.
This is a rocket distress flare being launched at full impact, but imagine a rocket like this being launched at a person. Try a 4-year-old boy, because that's exactly what happened to Ronnie Roach. Now healing, little 4-year-old Ronnie shows us his injuries that he sustained when he became the victim of an unprovoked attack, which nearly cost him his life.
Some young lads in a car that may have been stolen, that this was fired from. So we're looking for a silver car and we're looking for the outer casing of the flare.
There are many different varieties of flares, from commercial marine flares through to low-grade fireworks. The most dangerous are distress flares. An example of some marine flare varieties follows. Hand flares produce a bright signal that burns at a minimum of 15,000 candela. It will easily burn through clothing, flesh and bone. When applied next to some metals such as aluminium on the body of a car or aircraft, it possibly could burn through. A residual smoke is also produced. Very often these devices will not self-extinguish, and the handles will melt towards the end of the burning phase. Any metal components remaining are close to a molten state for several minutes after the burn has finished. Smoke flares range from land, low toxicity, through to marine, which are, generally speaking, the older the flare, the more toxic the smoke produced could be. Smoke flares generally have a built-in ignition system that ignites the smoke powder. These smoke flares are nearly 40 years old and still function. These release a dense choking smoke with a tar-like material which is highly toxic and will cause respiratory problems. Rocket or parachute flares fire a projectile usually from 150 meters to 500 meters in distance. The projectile is, in all meaning of the word, a missile, self-powered with an explosive charge and payload in its end. The power behind the missile is the rocket motor. This device on ignition produces superheated gas which propels the rocket. Once the rocket motor has finished its cycle, it burns through to ignite a small quantity of black powder. This causes an expansion of gas, forcing the illumination module and parachute from the rocket, igniting the base of the illumination flare in the process. This illumination part burns at approximately 30,000 to 50,000 candela and cannot be extinguished. It will burn for up to 30 seconds and will melt plastic, clothing, skin and bone. It will cause secondary fires and will burn through various metals. Centric has worked hard to develop a product to help combat this problem and teamed up with several leading K9 detection companies to produce the Pyrotechnic Training Aid, or PTA for short. This training aid is simple, safe and effective. Comprising of several bags with safe components and a real device for confirmation, the PTA is the only realistic training option for dog handlers. In trials, it was found that suitable dogs could be trained to work the substances with a good find rate. All search methods were employed and all were successful.